Hi everyone, it's Lucy from My Crazy Craft Life, and I'm here for Scrapping for Less with the reveal of the Flavor of the Month card kit called Sophisticated and Elegant. So there's a list of the items in the kit. There's the sketches and the cards I made, and I also included the sneak peek card that I made. So the first collection is Collection 1, and this includes Twinkle Glints by DCWV. The stamp is What If I Fly by Scrapping for Less. Black Tie Ephemera from Bo Bunny. Teal Butterflies by Petal. And Sequins from Buttons Galore. So for collection 1, I used sketch 3. Now I had played around with the stamp prior when I was making my sneak peek, because when I got the kit I had to open it and start playing with it, and that was the stamp I just loved. So I played with that one quite a bit. So I had already had it stamped. I stamped it with some Hero Arts ink that was like an ombre. Now the paper in this is unbelievably beautiful and glittery and sparkly and gorgeous, and so with the sketch, I was just putting together the papers and how I thought it would go well. And then for the image itself, I ended up spraying it with glimmer spray so that it could be sparkly as well. And I used the sparkle die that came with the banana split level with that kind of extra little package kit that you get. And I used that on the outside kind of for the sentiment. And then on the inside, I used the stamp Putting Up the Spritz by Scrapping for Less, and it had a sentiment in there that I really loved. It said, "Life tried to crush her, but only succeeded in creating a diamond." And I really liked that sentiment. So that was the sentiment I ended up putting on the inside. Now, besides spraying the whole piece with the stamp on it with glimmer spray, then I also used my Spectrum Noir sparkle pen just so I can make sure I got lots of sparkle on there on the image itself and all the little areas of the butterflies there. And that was card 1 that I completed. I went back and forth on whether I wanted to put sequins and whatnot, but I liked it without it. I thought it was perfect without it. So that would be card 1. Card 2 from collection 2, that includes Rustic Elegance by Scrapping for Less papers. The stamp is Bloom by Scrapping for Less. There are wooden doilies, tags by Prima, and sequins by Buttons Galore. Now for this sketch, I used sketch 4. And I just used my crocodile there to kind of round out the edges of the stamps, and I used the papers just to kind of follow along with it. I end up just using a bow that I made from last month's card kit, included a spool of ribbon, and I just ended up using that for kind of that little piece on the side. So this one I pretty much just followed along. And then the sentiment I put on there was, "Elegance is when the inside is as beautiful as the outside." And I really liked that stamp sentiment. I thought it was great. And then I heat embossed that with some clear embossing powder. I just used my VersaFine ink, black onyx ink, for the sentiment itself. And I did that first. I'm trying to remember to do these things. And I also remembered to use my the static pad so that the stuff doesn't stay all around there. So I just kind of complete this card by piecing everything together once I cut out all of the pieces. I had pre-colored these, and I did use Copic markers when I colored them, but I colored them when I was out, so I don't have that on video. And I just popped that in the center there along with the sentiment on the top. And like I said, there's the ribbon from the last one. Now tying a bow is not something I'm very good at, so I have to play with it a lot to even make it look a little bit normal. And then I still have to play with it some more. And then of course I have to have issues with my glue, with the skinny nozzle, the precision tip for the glue. And then like I said, I just end up putting a few of the sequins that came with it from Buttons Galore around the different areas, just to kind of outline the stamp image. And that would be the second card. Now the third collection includes Fashionista paper by Echo Park. The stamp is Sugar and Spice by Santoro, and it's that really cute little girl standing there with that sweet little dress on. Fashionista ephemera comes in this collection. Pink bling roll comes in this collection, and then sequins, of course, by Button Galore. Now here I was decided that I wanted to use that pink bling roll with this, and I used Copics to do the coloring for this little girl, and I did not leave all of this in there because one, I realized that I hold my pens or my markers so far down it's hard to see what I'm doing anyway, but also because my coloring is nothing brilliant or spectacular. But I did end up using some pinks and some like mint greens for the dress and for her outfit, and I just thought that was a really cute color combination to kind of go with this. Now, one of the things I ended up doing when I was using the pink bling, I kind of cut it and I followed sketch number 2 for this third collection, and I used that bling underneath the front panel to follow along with the sketch. But then what I also did was I cut out just each little single piece of that bling and used it for some like accents instead of using the sequence. I thought that that worked better. So after I finished coloring the image, I used my scan and cut to cut it out, but then it had a couple little white pieces like behind the hair that the scan and cut doesn't cut out, so I just cut those pieces out real quick with an X-Acto knife. And the rest of the way I picked out my papers and I am following along with the sketch image. Like I said, I end up using the pink bling for those pieces, and I think that ended up being really cute. For the sentiment on this card, I used the stamp Putting Up the Spritz by Scrapping for Less that's in the Banana Split level. And the sentiment I used was, in order to be irreplaceable, one must always be different. And I think these Santori girls are just kind of the epitome of that. And I just really enjoyed that sentiment. I think it's a great sentiment. There I was just stamping it off. I wanted to see how it stamped before I stamped it on the actual paper. So, like I said, this is a real simple card, just following the sketch. Now, in the Banana Split level I had talked about, you kind of get that extra package, and in that package you have a white pen by Reminisce, a package of pearls or rhinestones by Kaiser Craft. I got a package of rhinestones. Sparkle Word Die by Sunny Studio, and then the stamp Putting Up the Spritz by Scrapping for Less. Now, also in this kit, you get 8 sheets of 8.5 by 11 cardstock and 4 envelopes. The 8 sheets of 8.5 by 11 cardstock are 6 sheets of colored cardstock from My Favorite Things, and then 2 sheets of white from Nina 110 pound smooth white Solar Crest cardstock. And the colors we received this time were Safety Orange, Spearmint, Black Licorice, Pink Lemonade, Gray Grout, and Steel Blue. Now for this card I had used the Pink Lemonade for the background. So here, like I said, I was just cutting off all of the pieces to kind of end up using the pieces from that pink bling to use as some little accents, but I wanted to get all of those little pieces off. That's why I was cutting around them. And then that's pretty much it for that card. Now my fourth card is actually from collection number 4, and I used Sketch 1. And the collection for ingredients include Dapper Man by Scrapping for Less paper. The stamp is Dapper Man by Scrapping for Less. You get metal arrows from Tim Holtz, enamel dots by Echo Park, and then sequins from Buttons Galore. So I was trying to go off of the papers that are included in there and to get some colors that would kind of match up with those papers. So I end up using some blues and grays and black to kind of stay in the same color pattern or color schemes as the paper that's included with this. So I use the lightest ones first and then of course just kind of fill in with some shading as I go. Nothing too fancy here. Like I said, coloring is not necessarily the best thing that I do with this, but I do enjoy it and I have been practicing to get better. The little bow tie, I love the polka dots in the bow tie, and I think it goes well with the papers that I ended up choosing for this card. So again, I just, like I said, did some very simple coloring with this. And then I also just hand cut these out or fussy cut them out because they're just a really simple pattern, so there's not a lot of intricate cuts into this, so I was able just to do it by hand with no problem at all. You can pick up this kit over at Scrapping for Less. This is the November 2018 card kit, and again, it's Sophisticated and Elegant is the name of the card kit, but I really enjoy these card kits. I think they just give you a great amount of product for such a reasonable price, and I like to get smaller amounts because for one I get bored a lot, so I like to kind of make one or two things out of something and then that's kind of the last I'll use it. So these kits are perfect for me. I know Stacy on the team, she's made a bunch of kits where she's made like 30-40 cards with the card kits, and I know I've done a couple myself where I've made like 30-40 cards out of a card kit. And like I said, I just think for the amount of product that you get, this is really one of the best bangs for your buck as far as the card kits go. And Scrapping for Less is getting into creating a lot of more of their own products, including the papers and the stamps, and I just think the products are really well made. So here I'm just cutting up my papers to go along with the sketch. This, like I said, this is sketch number 1, and I just kind of filled in the pieces. I do end up using the sentiment from this stamp set, Hey Handsome, and I do end up heat embossing it with white heat embossing powder or white embossing powder because I used just some clear embossing ink on the black paper. Now this paper is a very slick paper, so you do want to kind of be careful when you're doing anything as far as stamping to make sure. I like to use the Tim Holtz, the platform. That's the travel one that you see me using throughout this, and I like to use that the most because especially when you're dealing with papers like this, just to make sure that you don't end up sliding all over with your stamp, because Lord knows that's what I would be doing. So like I said, here's me just finishing up the pieces and putting it all together. I do end up taking one of the arrows and putting it that way so that when they open the card, the arrow is actually pointing at them. So it says, Hey Handsome, and then the arrow is pointing at them. I don't know. I thought that was cute. In my own mind, it was very cute. So those are the 4 cards that I made with the 4 sketches for this card kit. Like I said, I really enjoyed the card kit, and I think it ended up being really cute. When I first got the card kit, I literally just had to jump in the exact almost moments that I got this. But you'll see me kind of here playing with the stamp because I played with it a lot before I even created that first card for the sneak peek. And I was just stamping it in a bunch of different ways. And I used a bunch of different types of inks and different colors. I mainly stuck with the blues and the greens or the turquoise more colors, and tried to do a couple different things with it. I thought that one was kind of cute to do the multicolor where her body and her head was black, kind of like an outline, and then the skirt part of the dress was the colors. I ended up not making a card with that one yet, but I kept it so that I will be. And then I think here I was just going to get some more inks and looking to do different things. So like I said, I just played with this a lot, came up with a lot of different colors and a lot of different ideas. Now this is the stamp that I ended up using on the first card with Sketch 3 because this is Collection 1, and so that was the stamp that I used on that collection. Here I was going with the blues, and I really enjoyed, like I said, playing with this stamp. I think it's a beautiful stamp, and I really loved the sentiment, especially for the first card, or I mean the sneak peek card, the first card that you saw with the sneak peek. And that sentiment is, what if I fall? Oh, but my darling, what if you fly? So for this card, for the sneak peek card, which is this one that I'm making now, like I said, I played with the stamp quite a bit. But then I wanted to make a background that kind of matched the coloring of the inks that I used. So I used a couple distressed inks. I used the peacock feathers and the broken china, and I kind of mixed those two together to kind of give just a little bit different of a color. I didn't exactly want it the turquoisey color, and I didn't exactly want it the blue for the color either, so I kind of wanted it a combination to match that. And then I just sprayed some water on there, and then I ended up stamping the outline in all black. I think the turquoisey color and then the sparkly papers just really go well together with as far as the colorings go. So like I said, I used the sentiment that is with the stamp set, and then I used one of the little like butterflies that are looks like it's flying away that she's holding. And I think using the platform for this stamp was really the best because sometimes you would have to stamp it a couple times to make sure that you got all the different areas in there properly. And so the platform came in really handy for this entire, really this whole kit. I really pretty much used it for every card, I think. But I dried it off with a heat tool just to make sure that it was dry, and I also sprayed it with some shimmer spray. Now the shimmer spray that I use is a homemade shimmer spray. I buy powdered eyeshadow from the dollar store, and it's real glimmery. I like the white, or it comes out clear when you mix it all together. And then I use some distilled water, and then I use hairspray. So I use about 3 parts water and about 1 part hairspray, and that's kind of the binder so that it doesn't, come off all over your fingers and whatnot when you do it. And then I just put as much of the eyeshadow in there as I want, or however shimmery I want. They do have multiple colors of the eyeshadow, at least at my dollar store. I use I have Dollar Trees, and those eyeshadows, like I said, come in quite a few different colors, and I do have all of them that I make the glimmer spray with, but I will say I mostly use the clear, the white, the clear. That's usually what I pretty much use. So this, I just decided to keep the pattern kind of simple. I used pattern paper. I just put a black strip of the paper behind it, and then here's the shimmer spray that I used. And again, I did take out the Spectrum Noir sparkle pen and put some more on that as well, along with a couple of the sequins I end up putting on this card too. Now, like I said, this really was a pretty simple card, but I just thought it was really beautiful after it was all done. It's a very elegant card. I guess that's the whole theme for the kit, but I just thought between the papers and everything, it was just a really beautiful card. And I had a lot of fun with this card kit. So that's my videos for today. And this is the reveal for the Scrapping for Less November 2018 Flavor of the Month card kit. Like I said, if you want to pick up yours, you can head over to Scrapping for Less. There's the sparkle pen that I was using to try to, like I said, give it even more sparkle than it already had, even with the shimmer spray, and I still wanted more on the image itself. But I hope everybody enjoyed this, and I hope everyone has a fantastic day. Thanks for joining me, and have a great day.